Well, it's so hard to believe that today is actually Christmas Eve. In our family, the holidays are really important. For all of our kids, we celebrate every holiday there is. We light the menorah, we have Christmas trees. We really make it a great celebration because, for me as a kid who grew up in the system, holidays just didn't exist. And so I think my husband always goes overboard. I think this year he actually did four Christmas trees. But what I want to remind everybody, though, is that you have about a week left to get that, tax check in, the donation to a charity. Comfort Cases, as you know, we're 96% volunteer ran. And every single time you write us a check, it truly goes to help with our mission. I am so, so excited for our next guest. It actually has taken me a while to get him on. I have been following my next guest for many, many years. He is unbelievable, and I know you're all going to know that. But I'd like to invite my friend, Chef Art Smith. Chef Smith, welcome to Fostering Change.
Well, hi, good morning and good
Good.
afternoon and good evening, whatever time everybody's tuning in. Great to be a part of this wonderful podcast about fostering change and with children and stuff, be a part of something that has been a part of my husband and I's life for now, I guess now it's been about 10, 12 years.
Wow. So just like Reese and I, so 15 years ago, um, our first two children arrived, and then literally 3 months later, our other two children arrived. So they were 6 months, two, and four, two sets of siblings. And then in 2019, like I didn't have anything else to do, my husband and I, we adopted an 18-year-old. So we actually have five.
Right. Well, in our case, it was like it cheaper by the dozen. They saw me coming. You know what I mean? I'm one of those people, they saw me coming and like, Chef Art, why would you want one? Don't you want four? These look at them. Look at their little faces. They all need a home. So we got four. We went for one, we got four.
That's like it was so we did the same thing. It was like we wanted one, and within 3 months we got four, and four in diapers. And so, but yeah, I always remind people all the time, especially for my husband and I, don't ever say that gays are not overachievers because we truly are when it comes to raising our kids. So tell me, what made you decide to go down the route as being foster parents to adopt?
Well, all I can tell you is, Jesus and I married the Venezuelan Jesus. We've always been, um, you know, we don't have one of anything. If we got a cat, we got eight cats. If we got a dog, we got four dogs. If we got like now, this issue now, like, okay, I couldn't have one bird. I've got 12 birds. I've got we have two dogs. I'm very tempted to get two more dogs. We have multiples of everything. I have probably, 100 pots and pans. I mean, we have lots and lots and lots of everything. I mean, we're just like that. And I kind of think it's like we don't have enough to love, so we always have multiples of everything. And we're also always having party after party after party and with we can't have 50 people, we have to 100 people. It's just who we are, and it's been a part of our lives, and probably that's why we're in the hospitality business is we have now it's been a part, while we got into in the kid business. It is a tough business, I will tell you something. And when we got into it, I said to myself, and I said, hey sis, there are no books written on being a dad. And I tell you, being a same-sex parent, it's a tough one.
Oh.
And I have to say, if I did not have a nanny, godmother, a woman in our lives to assist us with raising those children, we would have been in big, big trouble. I find it, and this is just me,
Right.
being two males trying to raise two girls and two boys, forget it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I
Uh,
will tell you, I remember we were in our second year, and both my husband and I both were career minded. And my husband walked into my office and he said, I can't do this anymore. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, I told you you're only going to leave me in a box. And he says, I want to be a stay-at-home dad. He says, I want to wake up in the morning. I want to get the kids off to school. I want to be there when they get off the school bus. I want to go on field trips. And I said to him, I said, listen, I said, that's not for me, but if it's for you, let's do it. And he's been a stay-at-home dad ever since. And like you, we only have one daughter. And I will tell you, we've had some of the most amazing role models in my daughter's life, including, one of the most incredible nannies. And so yeah, it's a lot of work, and especially when we're talking about kids who are coming in the foster care system with the trauma that they bring with them.
right. It exactly. The trauma is a big thing. I wish sometimes that, we should have, many times I think we should have a full-time psychotherapist living with us too.
Yes.
And because they come with a lot of it.
Yes.
And and many times, quite honest with you, there you just reach a place where, we all were born with something, regardless if we had parents or we didn't have parents, or whether I didn't have perfect parents. And but one thing that I find, whether you were adopted, you were fostered, whatever, it's something that I was able to develop, and that's the ability to cope. And I find that young people today have the inability to cope.
No, I agree. I
And
agree
cope
with you on that.
and coping skills go with the ability of survival skills. And something that I have to work with my kids all the time. Now I'm always accused, there are two parents. There's the tough one and there's the more maternal one. And Jesus is the tough one and I'm the maternal one. And I'm always the one that's, I'm probably a little bit too much too sweet and too, whatever. But I feel like I try really hard to be the one that they can speak to. And but I can also be kind of tough too, and I can lay it on the line too, and tell them, like, this is how it is. But
It sounds exactly like Reese and I. So Reese is definitely the tough one of the marriage, and where I travel so much that I have so much guilt. And also for me, my husband grew up totally different than I did. I grew up in the foster care system. I aged out. I was homeless. But when you said the coping part of it, you are so correct about that, because all of our kids are, my youngest is 15, my oldest is 23. I have, all of them living at home. Um, and, seeing them dealing with coping is really hard. And I have one son who has fetal alcohol syndrome. I have another son who
mhm.
has, reactive attachment disorder. And so going through all of these things, I look at it and say, one, I would truly do it again because I love my kids, but it is hard. It is hard.
Really, it really is hard. I mean, I have a kid, I have one child with fetal alcohol syndrome, and all of my kids are from the same parents, so they probably all have a little bit of it. But I have one that has truly learning disabilities, and it affects her terribly. And they all have ADHD. So it's something that's really tough. And like I have one, my oldest, it lives down the street, and what I do, what I do very much is I try to seek the good and the successes that we have, and just try to just cope with the stuff that it's really tough.
Yeah,
And
no, I
and
agree. I agree.
and he you know, he is a fashionista, regardless of whether I pay for it. He is a fashionista. I mean, dresses beautifully and knows really good stuff and has great taste. You know, the other night we had a party, came exquisitely dressed, and everyone commented on how great he looked and how a big boy he had become, blah, blah, blah. And he knows food. You can take him to a great restaurant. He knows food. Out of all the kids, he's all about food and he's all about fashion, etc. He's extremely smart. He has a savviness about him. He knows computers and stuff like that. He just needs to know how to take all of that and then turn it into that career.
Right,
That's
right.
what he needs. He's only 20. He just turned 22. He's just,
Yeah.
at that part. Now, my second son is couch surfing in Florida. And to be honest with you, I put him out at 18. I do that. I just, and even though I may be like supporting him, but still, I put him out because that's what I did. When I was 18, I left home.
Yeah.
And I think even though your parents are helping you, I still feel that you need to be on your own.
Do any of them, did they go to any of them go to college? Did any of them want further education?
No, mm-mm. They don't,
Yeah.
they have no desire to go.
Yeah.
And that's something you can't force them to either.
No.
No. And my two youngest daughters, my oldest daughter with the fetal alcohol syndrome, she's the one that she was crying one day and she was telling me, I said, "What's wrong, Daryl?" She said, "I'm mad." She said, "What are you mad about?" She said, "I'm mad that my mother made me this way." And I said, "Honey, you can't help that." And she said, "I want to do something." I said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to create a business that will help children like me." I said, "Like a non-for-profit." She said, "Yeah." And I said, "Yeah, okay." She said, "That's great." And she said, I'm not sure there are many non-for-profits to help children with fetal alcohol syndrome, which I think it's actually a great idea. And the child, and I don't, to be honest with you, at her age, I think she told me this last year, which she would have been 15. And at 15, I'd be honest with you, I don't think at 15 I could have actually would have thought of such a thing. And then my other one, who's now 15, she wants to sell real estate, and she's pretty smart.
Oh,
They're not very good at school. The
right.
girls are good at school. They stay in school, everything. The boys have don't stay in school. I mean, I had problems keeping them in school. But there are things that I can help, and there are things I know that regardless, I can beat my head against the wall. It's not gonna not as I've learned to accept what I can accept and learn to just deal with the stuff that I won't ever be able to change. And
Yeah, for us, my son who has fetal alcohol syndrome, when he arrived, we were told that he was never going to talk. And I look at him now, he's now 17 years old. He is honor student, getting ready to graduate high school, already got a college acceptance letter. First kid in he goes to a private school that specializes with kids with fetal alcohol syndrome. And
yeah,
so that's something my husband and I started when he was in kindergarten. And so he's grown up, really being able to deal and cope. And for the first time, he takes no medication whatsoever. But, then I have another son who's been in and out of, different facilities, it seems like every other month because he can't cope with everything. So being a parent it's definitely,
right,
it's not one for the weak.
right,
I'd
yeah,
like to, talk. You actually are the founder of a nonprofit called Common Threads.
right, yeah. And that was all started prior to even adopting children. We started that in 1980, excuse me, in 2002. Oh, And we've taught over probably close to 1 million kids, and we're in 9 states. And you're in New York, aren't you?
No, I'm actually in DC.
Yeah. We were in DC, and we may be, I'm sure still in DC, but we're in all the boroughs of New York City. We're in Pittsburgh. We're around your area and all the area, but we now we probably teach on average around 500,000 kids a year. We teach them a free cooking lesson, and through the school system.
That is awesome. I love that because the fact is, especially, kids who are, from low income, this is a thing I always could never understand. So, they have WIC, and they give WIC checks and they go to the store, but they give them a bag of beans, but nobody makes sure that they have a crock pot. Nobody makes sure that they know how to cook them. And so the fact that you're going into these schools and teaching these kids how to
Hmm.
cook. I
Hmm.
mean, come on, you've cooked for the best. I mean,
Hmm.
you cooked for Oprah, you've cooked for the
Hmm.
best. And so,
Hmm. Hmm.
that is absolutely amazing.
Well, well, I have, and thank you. But one of the greatest things the other day, I was in a restaurant. This woman came up to me, and she was with her a little girl, and she said, and she said, "You're Chef Art." And I said, "Yeah." And she says, my daughter, she was in your program. And I said, well, that's cool. She said, and I also taught. And I said, well, that's cool. And and she was in the program like 20 years ago. And I said, well, that's great. And I was having a party, and she came, and she said, I'd love to come. And she said, I'll bring my wife. And I never knew she was same. And they were a same sex couple, and her daughter now is 22 years old, which I what's it's. I was saying I ran into another group of ladies the other day for breakfast, and one runs the LGBTQ center, and one runs one of the largest transgender programs in the city of Chicago, and then some other ladies. And I said the greatest thing about one of the greatest and probably one of the most important things about working in not-for-profit is having the ability to really follow your work and see that your work, the progress of it, and seeing that what it actually does. The fact is that can you actually see that what you've done actually helps people in their future? And then do these people also help others? That's what you want to see. So anyway, it's fun, and the best part about it is I'd rather inspire it than manage it. So Linda, um, my CEO of it, has been running it for over 20 years, and I don't I just kind of I go from one project to another project. But one of the things I wanted to bring up too, as we all the with what's going on now, and with the I'm gonna get political on you because we need to be thinking about this. I'm very fortunate, you know, um, as a same-sex couple, and as you, I was able, we adopted in a time when it wasn't that easy for same-sex couples to adopt. And the reason that I was able to is because I was Chef Art Smith. And we adopted these children, and we put our children in a Catholic school. And the diocese found out that this same-sex couple, in fact, Oprah Winfrey's chef put these four children, in that school. And then you wouldn't believe what happened from there. So after that, I was thinking, like, this is interesting. Jesus was not feeling well, gets a letter of blessing from the cardinal, this hateful cardinal toward the community in Chicago, that wishing him to feel better. And then the next thing, I said, hey, sis, let's have the children baptized. Well, you know how all that went. And we were going to have them baptized in the chapel there, at the little chapel at the school. Well, they wouldn't hear that. They wanted it done in the cathedral. So our children were the first same-sex children baptized in the cathedral no, same-sex children in that cathedral, Chicago Cathedral, holy name, in 135 years of its
That's
history. But then you know what came with it? I want to show you this.
wow.
And I want you to see,
From the Pope.
you see this? You see
Yes.
that? That's a
Yeah.
papal stamp, and that's his signature. It's real, and this is all handwritten.
That's amazing. That's
And you know everything in Indiana behind it turning blue and Trump and the whole situation, and it was all the Catholics. I want you to see that.
wow.
Okay. So His Holiness is not hateful. Okay. I want you to see that.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you on that, by the way. I agree 100% with you on that. And I cannot thank you enough for sharing that story. And you are right. It was, when Reese and I adopted, 15 years ago when we started it was, you know, two white men were not adopting four black kids. And we had to hire our own attorneys and we had to hire bonding study experts. And I mean, this and that and everything. But you know what? I'm glad we did. I'm glad we are making that trail for other people. But listen, Art, I just want to say thank you.
You're welcome.
Tomorrow is Christmas Day, and this is such a great Christmas present to be able to talk to you, to be able to, really hear your story. And I just want to say thank you for all the millions of kids that you've also helped as well. And I hope you and your family have an amazing holiday, my friend.
Merry Christmas, and I wish you all a peaceful, loving holiday full of love and joy. Thank you.
Thank you
It's a
so much.
pleasure. Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much. Thanks for having me. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.